Republicans want to bring back child labor to solve labor shortages due to their mass deportation campaigns. Florida Republicans are pushing for a bill that would loosen child labor laws in a desperate attempt to fill jobs left vacant by mass deportations. The proposed law, which will be debated this week, would allow children as young as 14 to work overnight shifts, something that is currently prohibited. If passed, the bill would give employers the right to schedule teenagers, some of whom are in middle school and high school, to work on school days, even late at night, without the current limits on work hours. Governor Ron DeSantis supports the bill. Of course he does, claiming that young people, including teenagers and college students, should fill the jobs that were left vacant by recently deported workers. He believes that requiring children to work these jobs is a solution to the state's labor shortage. Anybody with a brain, though, can see how this plan could exploit vulnerable children. Loosening child labor protections will only fuel inflation and create further labor shortages as workers are pushed into more difficult and unsafe jobs. Child labor laws were put into place to protect young workers from harmful conditions, but this new bill threatens to reverse those hard-fought-for protections. Florida has already made it easier for children to work in recent years. Last year, a law was passed allowing homeschooled teenagers to work at any hour of the day. The state has also made employers check the immigration status of their workers, leading to fines for those who don't comply. But as child labor violations rise, nearly tripling in recent years, Florida's plan to ease regulations is sacrificing the welfare of children for the sake of filling these jobs.
The number of child labor violations in Florida has nearly tripled in recent years, and that's according to the U.S. Department of Labor Statistics. Florida really winning. So I guess this is what they had in mind when it came to make America great again. So I guess bring child labor back, have kids work overnight on a school night when they should be resting. Okay, great.
What this bill will do is it will eliminate all current time restrictions for working children in Florida. We are now even going to say that 14-year-olds can work overnight. Not only work overnight, but also work overnight on the school nights.
Hello guys, and welcome to the Joy Report. In today's video, we're going to talk about Florida and their insane plan to put 14-year-olds to work. I mean, Florida, what's going on? You all fought so hard to push immigrants out, talking about taking our jobs back. And now you're so desperate for workers that you want 14-year-olds working overnight shifts. This is where you are. This is what you all voted for. It's ridiculous, but it's not even surprising, because when rich politicians make a mess, it's always the most vulnerable who pay the price. If this is the kind of content you enjoy, please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing so that YouTube may recommend it to a wider audience. And so now, without further ado, guys, let's go straight into this video. But first, let me play you a few videos on this matter, and I'll come back with my commentary. As a side note, all credit goes to the creators of these videos.
You guys, this has got to be a joke. This is where we're at. One of the deepest reddest states is in the fuck around and find out mode. And they're already talking about lowering. That's the solution? I mean, that's just as good as using a group message app to talk about military strategy. I mean, that's where we're at here, okay? Prices are going up. We're deporting all kinds of people. And now we need to fill some jobs, right? So why not let the kids do it, right? Because you know what? We told you. You wouldn't want to do the work. We told you that. You would not want to do the work. So now what? Put the kids to work? Brilliant. Just brilliant. Like, I'm ready to crack up so hard that I think I'm on the verge of tears. This has got to be the most pathetic headline I have seen since January.
Nothing is better than being MAGA. Here in Florida, let me tell you what we're doing. You see, what happened was Ron DeSantis and all the MAGA legislator here, we kicked out all of the immigrant workforce. We made it clear that they weren't welcome here and kicked them out of the state. That's right, even some of us MAGA business owners voted to kick out our own workers, and now we cannot fill the work. Oh, but don't you worry, MAGA's on top of things, because right now our wonderful legislator is debating on loosening the child labor laws here, because our genius MAGA plan is to replace the immigrant workforce with our children, our Florida children. Doesn't that make perfect sense and just sound wonderful? The policy we support is actually detrimental to us, but we pass it anyway. Now all the MAGA youth is going to be doing construction on your house. Doesn't that want to make you buy a house in Florida? It's not going to be insured, and it was built by a 10-year-old. What could go wrong?
You guys, this has got to be a joke.
Right now, Florida is now debating possibly lifting child labor laws in an effort to fill jobs that were previously filled by undocumented.
This is where we're at. One of the deepest reddest states is in the fuck around and find out mode. And they're already talking about lowering. That's the solution? I mean, that's just as good as using a group message app to talk about military strategy. I mean, that's where we're at here, okay? Prices are going up. We're deporting all kinds of people. And now we need to fill some jobs, right? So why not let the kids do it, right? Because you know what? We told you. You wouldn't want to do the work. We told you that. You would not want to do the work. So now what? Put the kids to work? Brilliant. Just brilliant. Like, I'm ready to crack up so hard that I think I'm on the verge of tears. This has got to be the most pathetic headline I have seen since January.
So Florida said we got rid of all our undocumented migrants. We're going to replace them with 14-year-old kids. Yes, Florida is pushing a bill that would allow 14-year-olds to work overnight in goddamn factories to replace migrant workers that have been gone, that left because they are being deported, or they were fear being deported, or they were fear being put in ICE detention. This is some bullshit. So we get rid of the education system so we can make workers. I could have sworn Project 2025 had something like this. I could have sworn we said this shit during the election, that Trump and the Republican Party likes your children stupid so they can put them to work. The 1% does not need thinkers. They need workers. They need bodies. Hell, even goddamn Elon mama said, I need y'all to work for my son. What part of y'all? I don't understand how y'all don't see this shit. It has nothing to do with race. It has to do with classism. And the 1% don't want your children educated, smart, thinking for themselves, starting their own businesses. They want their asses in those factories working to keep them rich, and keep their children rich, and keep their children's rich. And if this shit passes in Florida, Texas, Mississippi, and Alabama are not too far behind. Oh, let's add Oklahoma too.
Why Florida considering getting rid of the child labor laws or lifting the child labor laws? Because all of the jobs that the undocumented immigrants had, they can't fill them. Let me get this straight. You got rid of undocumented immigrants, and now you can't find bodies to do these jobs. So your thought was, how about we make the workforce younger? We allow people as young as 14 years old to be able to work overnight. They don't, school? Who cares about school? They're making me money. Those kids don't need to get rest. They stay up all night playing video games anyway. They might as well work. Instead of the adults who just happen to be in the country illegally. Instead of getting those adults the proper citizenship, that way they can continue to do the work, we're just going to get rid of them and then make children do it.
So they really are playing 4D chess here, and we're all just a bunch of dum-dums, it turns out. But I connected a couple dots here today, so I thought I'd tell you about it. So you know how we're really mad at undocumented immigrants because they're taking all of our jobs, or they also could be total leeches on our system and taking all of our services. We can't decide quite which one, but let's just pretend they're taking all of our jobs. So we're rounding them up en masse, and now it's come as a total surprise that you have a lot of farm fields that are empty, because you don't have workers. And I'm really surprised that there are lines out the door of all the Americans whose jobs have been stolen by these people. I don't know why they're not there, because they've got fields to farm, but it's not our jobs, adults, that they were taking. It's children's jobs. And did you guys know this? I didn't know that we were so mad because they were taking children's jobs. Because they can't even vote yet. And how else are they going to make their voices heard? That they don't want to be in school. They don't want to be learning division and like basic arithmetic. They want to be in the fields. They want to be in the factories. Why are we denying them that privilege? They have had their jobs taken away for far too long. And we have been standing in their way, adults. So thankfully, Florida, always the leader in our nation, is really taking this bull by the horns and proposing a new bill. Florida is one of many states that are working on bills that will help roll back child labor laws, because these ridiculous laws have been on the books for decades now, and they have been preventing our children their only wish. They just want to work. They just want to work in the fields. And they thankfully strip back age requirements, which is fantastic, and also how late into the night they can work, because especially in some places, it just makes sense to have them work the graveyard shift. I mean, a lot of them are up anyway, especially, I'm sorry, have you had a toddler? They're up all night anyway. Might as well make some freaking money. And then it also takes away how early they can work, which is great. And for anyone to suggest that these people don't care about kids is wackadoodle. This is 100% for the children. And I'm just happy that I'm finally seeing that,
Morning, Florida. Come on up to the front. Let me ask you a question. Which families do you think are going to be forced to go work at the age of 14? Some of you might be aware Florida, as with many states, already has child labor laws intact. What SB 918 does is it eliminates certain restrictions for 16 and 17-year-olds that were written in the law previously, and it brings up new things for 14 and 15-year-olds. Now, see, one of the main reasons that this bill is being revisited and re-edited is because the loss of the migrant workers in Florida. DeSantis, see, he's got the perfect solution: children. Because his thought on why 16 and 17-year-olds should be able to work more than 30 hours a week is because, well, someone's got to do the job. And they are framing it and quite literally saying Democrats should not be able to choose your child's bedtime. Why? Why would they be talking about parental rights and bedtimes in regard to child labor laws? Oh, that's because in Florida, the current law says that if you are under the age of 17, you cannot work overnight, and you actually cannot work any later than 11 p.m. Why is that law in place? Because education is important. And we know, even as adults, if we were to work an overnight shift and then have to go in and use our brain and our underdeveloped frontal lobes to learn, our outcomes would not be nearly as successful as a well-rested, well-fed peer that is sitting next to us.
America is officially in the pits. Florida is debating whether to lift child labor laws due to a job shortage due to all of the migrants that they have rounded up and shipped out of Florida. There are things like child labor laws put into place to protect children from being overworked and to provide safety for children working jobs that they should not be working on. This bill would allow workers as young as 14 years old to work overnight shifts, even on school nights, because there is a job shortage in Florida right now. If this isn't Governor DeSantis a fuck around and find out moment, I don't know what is. It just can't be what people voted for. This can't be what you thought. Yes, this is going to be for me. He's making the country great again, to allow children to work overnight. Because what kind of overnight jobs are there? Amazon, factory workers, stock rooms, children as young as 14? Florida has always been the underarm pit of America. But bro, this is crazy.
What is going on in Florida? We already know that you guys are ass backwards, but holy shit. I just read an article that DeSantis wants to get rid of some of their child labor laws. Seriously? their children. Really? You want to get rid of that? Because too many illegal immigrants have been sent away. So now they don't have a lot of people to do stuff that we don't want to do. So these immigrants who have been paying taxes, who have been working their asses off on jobs that ain't nobody else here want to do, they get rid of them. And now who's going to replace them? Apparently your 14-year-olds. In the article, and I wish I would have put it up, but I have to go on my rant. In the article, he puts that 14-year-olds could work the night shift. The night shift. So you're going to school and you're working night shift as a 14-year-old. But in warehouses, are you going to have these children up on roofs building houses and shit? You get rid of competent people who know what they're doing to replace them with children, to replace them with 7th graders. It's one thing, a kid having a part-time job after school, that's another thing. But a full-time job, 14, 15-year-old, are you serious, dude? Are you serious? How can parents, Trumpers, I know y'all got kids, you guys are okay with this? Like, seriously? You guys are okay with your 14-year-old, your 13-year-old doing construction? That's all right. What about the liabilities, huh? Your kids working night shift, driving forklifts? Wow! What is going on with this world? Oh my God! You guys want kids to do adult work. Children who are just starting puberty to do adult work. What, in a few months, are we going to see freaking 14-year-olds driving now? UPS trucks, Amazon trucks, freaking, these children are going to be doing construction? Like, how is this even a forethought? This shouldn't even be a thought whatsoever. I'm just like, oh my God. And God forbid something happens to any of these children who are working their full-time jobs while going to school and doing homework. Children who can't even drive yet. You want them to work the night shifts at warehouses and wherever else and do whatever else. My gosh, get a clue. I can't. I don't even have words. Like, this is a thought. You're sitting at your dinner table thinking about this with your children next to you, like, hey, you know what? That's a good idea. You guys could work all night long. Or right after school, put in an 8-hour day or longer. Weekends, hey, we got buildings and houses that need to be made. Why not? Why not?
Not a single person who voted for Donald Trump regrets it. The left has nothing left but lies.
I'm not showing you this very misguided lady just to troll her. I'm actually here to make a much bigger point. Because she is wrong. There are plenty of people who have publicly come forward to say they regret voting for Trump, including people like this guy, or this woman, and the commonality between these people is that they were all federal workers who were fired. For them, politics went from theoretical to real. And now we're getting to the core problem of people who voted for Donald Trump. They don't recognize the danger of their opinions until they feel it firsthand. Because it's easy to believe things like there should be no restrictions on the Second Amendment until you lose someone. Or that illegal immigrants are bad until they do something to help you. Trump preys on people who cannot put themselves in the shoes of other people. These people need to feel things firsthand before they change their mind on anything. And that's why I continue to argue that Trump doing worse and worse things to America is actually going to aid in healing America. Because MAGA is unquestionably a poison to America, and the only way to get that poison out of our system is to get people to want to stop ingesting it. And the most effective way to do that is to have the people who voted for Trump feel the effect of his bullshit firsthand.
A woman in West Virginia who was one of Donald Trump's biggest supporters now regrets her vote for Trump because he fired her from the federal government. Just take a look at the clip.
This flag used to hang there. This was the flag Jennifer Piggott proudly hung outside her home during campaign 2024.
We had the flag. I had the shirt. I was a MAGA junkie.
A MAGA junkie who thought her government job would be safe with Donald Trump in office. She was wrong.
I cried. it's scary, you know, it's a really scary thing. And I was embarrassed.
He's a good boy. Pigott was abruptly fired last month from the Treasury Department's Bureau of Fiscal Service, based here in Parkersburg, West Virginia. The reason given for the firings of 125 probationary employees at the Bureau? Poor performance.
I had my last review on the 31st of January, and I had the highest rating that you can get on a review, less than 21 days before I was terminated for my performance.
You voted for Donald Trump.
I did.
Do you regret that vote?
Yes, I do. To cut the knees out of the working class Americans just doesn't make sense to me. I expected more from President Donald Trump.
Since speaking out, Pigott says she's received death threats and her home has been egged.
Yeah, she had her flag out, she wore the t-shirt, she was very much in Donald Trump's corner, and now she regrets it. She would not have voted for Donald Trump again, and you're seeing this sentiment all over the country. There were a lot of people out there who voted for Donald Trump to lower grocery prices or lower gas prices. Now, obviously, that's not happening, and instead, he's firing people from their jobs and destroying the federal government. We are already seeing a lot of regret from Trump voters, and I think that's only going to increase, just like you saw there.
My personal fuck around and find out story and why I think it's actually a great tool to use to deprogram people. I grew up in Christian fundamentalism, and that taught me that my religion always had to be conservative Republican, and that basically if I didn't vote conservative Republican, I would go to hell for eternity because I would be like causing the new wave of Holocaust in the US, but for the murdering of babies. Anyways, I went to a Christian fundamentalist college where I got to vote the first time. I voted while attending my college, and at my college they basically said that we had to vote Republican or we would go to hell, and that Hillary was Jezebel and would ruin our country, and it was all fear. And I had never talked to a Democrat or heard about Democrat policies at all, because I was just raised in this bubble and I was super naive and thought that I knew everything and that Democrats were stupid because I was just told my whole life that they were stupid. So I just rolled with that. Anyway, so I voted for the orange man, and I've talked a lot about in different videos this. It's something I deeply, deeply regret. And so I kind of spend my time now saying don't vote for the orange man. So I voted for him, and things were fine because I was like in college for a few years while he was in there, and then me and my husband went into the real world, and we both actually got jobs pretty easily and a little apartment pretty easily. We got married, and the economy for us was fine, so I was like, okay, this isn't so bad. And then I started hearing about the families getting ripped across, and when he did the Muslim ban, and I remember I saw a video of this guy crying in the airport about how like he couldn't see his family or go home. It was something, and he was just so sincere, and like he was sobbing, and I am an empathetic person. That's what took me out of that cult, is my empathy. And so I just remember thinking, oh, I fucked up. And then seeing the kids separated from their parents, I'm just like, I fucked up. And then hearing everything he was saying about other people and just like how crazy it was getting, and then I already was like, whoa, I fucked up. And then BLM happened, and I realized I fucked up because I'm like, oh my God, he is so racist. And I already should have known he was racist, but it was like, yeah, I fucked up. And then COVID happened, and the US was just fighting with itself instead of just taking the vaccines because of Trump and all of his stupidness. And I was like, I fucked up. And it took all of those years of realizing that I fucked up to not make that mistake and to leave the conservative Republican movement. And so I do hope that this fuck around and find out also causes other people to leave the movement. But we'll see. Here's hoping.
Maybe y'all saw the news out of Nebraska today. Apparently our entire state is going to go bankrupt in 2 quarters. Me and my husband owned a cattle ranch here, and I can confirm that all of the cattle ranchers here overwhelmingly voted for Trump. We support him. We voted for him. Something like 70% of our entire workforce is undocumented immigrants, and they straight up are not showing up for work anymore. They have all either fled the country, fled the state. They don't want to get raided while at work, so they have just moved on. moved on to work somewhere else. And straight up, we are gonna go bankrupt now. We are gonna go bankrupt. And yeah, we voted. We knew that the immigrants would get deported and he was coming after immigrants, yet we still voted for it. Overwhelmingly voted for our own demise. I was talking to my husband last night, and I have to admit that it seems a bit foolish now when you think about it like that we voted for something that is now putting us directly out of business.
You fucked around with your vote, now it's time you found out. Am I the asshole for cutting off my sons financially after they voted for Trump? I, 52 male, have two sons, Isaac, 22 male, and John, 20 male. My wife and I have always leaned left politically, and we've raised our kids to value equality, compassion, and critical thinking. We've had countless family discussions about politics and the impact of policies on people's lives. So you can imagine my shock when I found out after this last election that both of my sons voted for Trump. It came out during a casual family dinner when I asked, "So, who'd you guys vote for?" expecting them to either dodge the question or name one of the candidates aligned with our values. Isaac shrugged and said, "Trump. His policies just make the most sense right now." John chimed in, "Yeah, I mean, he's about protecting the economy. People like us need someone who gets that." I stared at them, stunned. "People like us?" I asked. "Boy, you've never paid for a single tank of gas, let alone rent or tuition. What exactly do you mean by that?" Isaac rolled his eyes. "Dad, I'm studying business. Trump's pro-business. It's not that deep." "It's plenty deep," I snapped. "You're backing someone who's gutted protections for the environment, undermined health care, and actively targeted marginalized communities." John shook his head. "You're just looking at the negatives. He's strong on immigration and keeping jobs here." The conversation spiraled into a heated debate. I couldn't understand how they, having grown up with every advantage I could provide, could support someone who champions policies that harm so many people. That night I thought about how much my wife and I had sacrificed to give them opportunities. I worked extra hours to cover their tuition so they wouldn't have student loans. I paid for their gas, car insurance, and even groceries. And this is what they choose to do with that privilege? A few days later, I told them my decision. "If you want to support Trump's policies, you should also live by them," I said. "From now on, you'll need to cover your own tuition, rent, and living expenses. Maybe then you'll understand the real-world impact of the policies you are endorsing." Isaac was furious. "Are you serious, Dad? You're just cutting us off because we disagree with you politically." "It's not about disagreement," I said firmly. "It's about accountability. You voted for someone who's against student loan forgiveness, so take out loans. You support someone who doesn't believe in raising the minimum wage, so get a job that pays what it pays and figure it out." John looked hurt. "You're being petty. This isn't how you change someone's mind." "This isn't about changing your mind," I replied. "It's about giving you a dose of reality. FAFO ain't just some cool hashtag you and your little friends use. It means there are consequences to your actions. Political choices have consequences. You're adults now. It's time to act like it. You fucked around with your vote. Now it's time you found out." My wife thinks I'm being too harsh. She worries this will damage our relationship with them long term. She said, "They're young. They're still figuring out their beliefs." "Beliefs have consequences," I told her. "They made a choice. Now they'll learn what that choice means." Some of my friends agree with me, saying it's a fair wake-up call. Others think I'm letting politics come between family and being unnecessarily cruel. So, am I the asshole for cutting off my sons financially because of their political choices? You know, you got a good point. I don't think you're the asshole. I think you're going to let them find out what they fucked around with, their vote. And voting has consequences.
I have seen quite a few posts lately of MAGA voters regretting their vote.
So do you MAGA voters that are regretting your votes expect the libs to be forgiving and to be understanding and to accept your change of heart? No. Because the only reason why you're regretting it is because it's affecting you. There are farmers who are losing their farms. There are thousands and thousands of federal employees losing their jobs. Private sector people are losing their jobs. We Canadians are no longer buying US products, which of course is going to cause more job losses over there, but it's only upsetting you because now it's hurting you in your pocketbook. You didn't think about what you did or what was going to happen when you put that pencil to the paper in November. The only thing you cared about was yourself and harming the libs. Well, now you're the one that's being hurt. And now, oh, you're regretting it. That is being selfish at the ballot, and you're being selfish now. Because you first wanted to own the libs, make a point, be a rebel, and now you are being selfish because you want people to feel pity for you because you're hurting. Fuck you. No. No. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you. You did what you did, and you didn't care who it was going to hurt, knowing full well what this man was going to do. Oh, sure, you did not think it was going to affect you. Did you think Donald Trump kept a master list of all the MAGA voters and you guys were all going to be safe? Your jobs were going to be secure? Your small businesses were going to be okay? Your farms were going to be saved? Give your head a shake. The man doesn't give a shit about anybody else except himself and his billionaire buddies. You, little peon, are nothing to him. You always were nothing to him. He wanted to make you feel special. I bet you feel special now, don't you? I'm sorry, but you know, it's great. It's great that you are regretting your votes. I'm glad. Maybe you've learned a hard lesson. I'm sure there are many other MAGAs out there that are refusing to admit the fact that they regret their vote, because God forbid you should admit you're wrong. But that does not excuse what you've done. It does not excuse the damage that it has caused in the United States. It does not excuse the damage that that man has done to all of the innocent people who didn't deserve this. You didn't care when he said he was going to throw a shit ton of tariffs on Canada and the European Union and Mexico. You didn't care that he said he wanted to take over Greenland, annex Canada, take over the Panama Canal. You thought that was all great, didn't you? You don't care about the damage that that man wants to do. The only thing you cared about was yourself. So forgiveness is pretty slim right now. Nobody deserves to be forgiven when they were intentionally trying to harm other people for no reason other than being MAGA.
Florida MAGAs love to talk about family values. They love to act like they're the party of protecting children. But how do you claim to protect kids while also saying, yeah, let's make 14-year-olds work all night? How do you push for book bans in schools because you think kids shouldn't read certain words, but you're fine with those same kids working exhausting shifts in dangerous jobs? Where's the concern for kids now? Where's the outrage? Where's the morality? Because I see hypocrisy. I see exploitation. I see a system that would rather use kids as disposable workers than admit it made a mistake. This is the real definition of FAFO. Florida voted to send immigrants home. Florida celebrated as hardworking people, people who contributed to the economy, paid taxes, and did jobs nobody else wanted. were forced out. Now, reality is slapping them in the face. They wanted those jobs open. Now, there's nobody left to do them. And instead of facing that reality, instead of saying, maybe we got it wrong, they've decided the next best thing is child labor. You can't make this up. So now, Florida parents, you have to ask yourselves, did you vote for this? Is this what you wanted? Do you want your 14-year-old working overtime shifts because greedy politicians refuse to fix their mistakes? Because guess what? The rich will never put their kids in these positions. Their kids will never have to choose between education and survival. Their kids will never be the ones sacrificing sleep, safety, and a future just to keep Florida running. But yours will. So is this the future you wanted? Or are you finally ready to admit you FAFO'd big time?
See, the more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
Guys, what do you think? Do you think Florida went too far with this? Would you want your kid working overnight shifts because of bad politics? Let me know. Drop your comments down in the comment section below. I would love to keep this discussion going.